Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of ClassyNerdTalk, where we talk about why there isn't software that does erase things from your memories. Because I would totally erase the first 3 Star Wars prequels.
From your mind?
From
existence?
From existence and my mind.
That's not a bad idea.
Or probably
can
Star Trek Into Darkness.
But that might work too. But what about just erasing Jar Jar Binks? Maybe that would work.
It wouldn't work. Yeah, it wouldn't be.
Sorry, guys. Wouldn't do that.
I'm your host, Sir Burkolater, and with
Titan,
my buddy. So, we're doing a segment that we've been doing on our channel for a while called Movies Then and Now. And
we're here.
He's then, and I'm now. So
I'm trying to change the format for you. Look what you do. Man, messed him up.
Format's always good. So what I do, I'm just going to explain a little bit, but you can just watch one of the videos for more detail, other videos. But what it is I pick a movie from my era, and he has to watch it, and then he picks a movie from his era, and I have to watch it.
Correct. His is from 1990 on. Mine's from before 1990, anytime. Even in the 1500s.
Okay, so going first, last week he picked the genre of art, and I made him watch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, 2004.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Jim Carrey.
I tell you, yes. You know, it took me probably 20 minutes into this movie to figure out it was Kate Winslet. I'm thinking, this was after she lost weight. She was a little heavy. I mean, not that it was bad. She was bad, but she had a few more pounds on when she did Titanic and stuff. Mm-hmm. And after that, she had lost some weight and stuff. And so this is probably one of the movies she did at the time. So it took me a few minutes. Between that and the colored hair, I was trying to think, okay, how do I place this? I know this face. I know this voice. And it took me a little bit of time. Jim Carrey, of course, everybody knows. I don't think he could paint his face black and stand in a shadow and you would know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just one little voice.
He's just like one of those comedians that is just like, you know who he is.
If he
He's
started
kind
to
of like
laugh
Robin Williams.
If he said one word, started to laugh, anything, any sound, you would know who it was. Anyway, this movie also starred Kristen Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Tom Wilkinson, and all big actors in their own name, that kind of stuff. They did a lot of neat stuff in their past. This is a great movie. They all did a good job in this movie. And it was kind of he calls it an art film, but I think it was more along the lines of towards a psychological thriller as opposed to an art film. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. I mean, I think it's veered more to the thriller part. It starts out, it's kind of neat because at the end, when you realize at the beginning you watched and what's going on at the end, it's like, oh, wow, because this jumped from here to there, back and forth. It's a movie, but a guy who meets a girl. A lot of movies like that. Only this one has a twist to it. They have a problem after a while. He's a straight-laced guy, kind of boring, and she's kind of a wild girl. And so she's finally like, I had enough. And she erases him from her memory. Go figure, how did you do that? We only thought that was in Total Recall.
Yeah.
But go to Mars. You get Mars. Anyway. Yes. So he finds out and decides that he needs to erase her. But then, as this is going on, he changes his mind. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. And he fights, and it's just really neat how they did all the different scenes when he's fighting this. And he has her in his mind, and they're running. They can see stuff start disappearing behind him, or stuff getting dark. And he would go back. He finally ended up going back to his childhood, trying to hide her there. And eventually, I believe, they got her completely out of his mind, although she left an impression for him to go somewhere. And so one day after this happens, he gets up, supposed to be going to work. He's going to go on the train, and he's like, nope, I'm not going to work today. Runs off and takes a trip. And I forget where they were going, where he went and met her at the beach at. But he sees her at the beach. She's walking, and she kind of follows him. Yeah. And this whole thing, and that's how technically that's how the movie starts, but then that's how the movie ends too, with this part of the thing. And it really was kind of odd, because I remember when Elijah Wood, you first see him, he's parked outside the girl's apartment. She runs in to get some stuff. And he runs up there, looks at the window, knocks on the window. Hey, can I help you? He's like, what? What do you want? And the guy's like, oh, never mind. Runs away. You're like, what the heck was that? Yeah. I thought that was interesting. But you realize, but by the time you get to the end of the movie, when it kind of plays again, you're like, And now I know why he was there and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. What I thought was very interesting was when they were doing erasing his mind, all the craziness going on. And I thought, okay, there was no professionalism in that. The guys are drinking, they're having sex, it's like all kinds of stuff. And then the girl starts kissing the old guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, and then you find out even more that other people's had their minds erased. And you're like, wow, this is interesting. How many people are walking around with erased memories? Mm-hmm. In fact, are they doing that today? Do you have an erased memory that we don't know about?
I wish.
You don't know. You don't
There's
know.
just some things that you have to erase.
Because they erase them even meaning. Yeah. So it's like, wow, this is pretty weird. If you kind of think about it in real life, it's kind of like, they said, of course, they said Valentine's Day is their biggest time. Because people want to, get rid of old memories of boyfriend, girlfriends, husbands, wives, all that kind of stuff, past lovers and things. And, when you watch this, you just kind of watch it for what it is. And it's really entertaining to watch this film. And the sequences and the things that happen when you see them kind of meeting, and Jim Carrey's kind of like quiet and drawn into himself, and as she kind of brings him out, Clementine, that's right. Yeah. She plays Clementine. She brings him out, and but only so far. They get into the rut, and they're just kind of doing the same stuff because she likes certain things, but he doesn't like to go out and party, and she does, and then that's where the whole thing kind of blows up, and she decides to do something different. Mm-hmm. But the majority of the movie is spent in his mind when they're trying to erase the memories of her. Yeah. And I thought it was very well done when they kind of mask off people's faces, and again, like I said, when they have things shadow and go dark, and he's running, or he's like, what's going on here? Hey, wait, stop. He's yelling at people. And, of course, nobody can hear him. And he's like, hey, I'm in your head, too. What are you talking to me for? Kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they forgot his eyes pop open. Like, oh, my gosh, give a shot, put him back to sleep. And then when he hides, I thought it was really cool because they have his brain mapped out, all the hot spots. Mm-hmm. The brain mapped out for where all the memories are. And whatever they do, they go in there, and they can take away those synaptic pathways, those little shocks of stuff to get rid of stuff, which is really, really interesting because I wonder how far along are we at with brain technology that, somebody thought of this.
Yeah. So, if you had to rate the movie through 1 through 10, what would you rate it?
That's a good question, folks. I'll tell you, though, what really surprised me when I looked this up, it said that it opened to a wide acclaim and grossed $70 million worldwide and won some awards and stuff, which I guess if, people who do the awards probably look at a lot of these movies like that and they get awards, and a lot of times I don't watch these kind of movies myself. I was pretty surprised with it. I actually thought it was a very well done movie, especially for Jim Carrey. I like Jim Carrey, but only to a certain extent. I believe he goes too far in most of his movies. But I would probably give this a 9.
I think my heart stopped. Really? Oh, wow.
I think the biggest thing it was, I'm a big sci-fi fan. Yeah. I like time travel stuff because technically you can never get it right, but there are some really good ones that are done out there. But I also like the thriller part of this because it's not like it's a scary thriller. It's just like, oh my gosh, what's happening, or who, and you get drawn into this thing where it's like, again, like I said, when you find out other people have had their memories erased too of certain things, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's pretty interesting. Well, I wonder what, because your mind even jumps to the point, wow, I wonder who else has been in this movie with their minds erased, that kind of thing going on. But just the way again, back to your art style you talked about, the way it was filmed, the way each sequence was done, and the way, of course, what I really, really think it drew me in was the parts when he was trying to hide her. That's what I think really, probably for most people, I would guess, and you'd have to let us know if that drew you in as well. That was the parts that drew me in out of the whole movie.
Yeah, see, why I picked this film for you to watch was when you said arts film, I wanted you to rely because I want you to feel comfortable when I pick an art film.
You pick an art film. Okay, that makes sense.
Because Requiem is kind of harsh, and and another one is Trainspotting. Those are harsh films because those are about drugs. Yeah. But this, on the other hand, I really liked it. I remember watching it in the basement with like a couple of my friends, and they were just like this.
It's a chick flick.
They were just like, it's all right. But I was so intrigued with this film because the thing is it kind of gives you what I love about movies like this. Why I call it an art film is because it emotionally ties you to part of your life to that film. And what I mean by that is this guy had a terrible breakup. And if you've ever been, you ever had heartache like that where someone broke up with you, you think of that person constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
How you could change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when he gets this opt out of like, hey, I'm erasing her thoughts and her memories completely, most people would jump at the gun at that and be like, yeah, I don't want this heartache. But he realizes when he's going through it, he's like, I don't want that. I want to remember this person because I really cared about this person. And it was a very emotional draw. But the things I love about this movie is how they shot the movie and how sci-fi it was. It was like, because when they're in his memory, there's some, because like when I recommended it to you, the first thing that popped in my head, actually, after you left, I was like, oh no, he's not going to like it. Because the baby scene, the kitchen sink and the baby scene, I was like, oh no.
Oh!
Because it's kind of weird out there.
Actually, no, because, and you've never probably seen this, but there's, Lily Tomlin.
Okay.
Was kind of a funny. I say funny because when I was a kid she was funny, but she did Laughing and she did the shows and she was like this person in a giant chair. She played the baby and stuff, and she actually did a movie along those lines. But that was the first thing that come to my mind when I seen them in the sink. For whatever reason, was Lily Tomlin when she would do that kind of stuff, and I thought, okay, that's cool. I mean, yeah, they were in a sink and I don't think they got sucked down or whatever. They were trying to hide, so I forget the whole scene, but yeah, his mom was doing dishes or something like that. Or no, giving him a bath. Maybe it was when he was a baby. But no, that was cool.
Well, see, like that's why the whole week I was like, "Hey, what'd you think of it?" And you're like, "No, you're gonna have to wait." Because the thing was when you did text me and told me, "Where do you find these movies at?" And you told me you're like, "This is very intriguing. I really like it," but you didn't tell me that you liked it. You just said, "Oh, they're thought provoking."
Yeah, intriguing, thought provoking. And then when you asked me about what I thought of it, and I said, no, I don't think I'm getting my mind erased or something like that.
Yeah, so like, it kind of was like, I don't know.
You're thinking, oh, he's going to hate it. He's sorry he did it and something. But actually, no. I mean, it's very thought-provoking. It does bring up a lot, not just of the way the film was done and the storyline, but the technology behind it. Because everybody talks about technology today, and a lot of movies show technology going on and things they're trying to do. So my question in the back of my mind while I was watching this was, wow, I wonder what they could really do with the mind today.
And I think this movie really hits a key point, and like a lot of movies don't. Most movies is it was original. It was something that someone thought up, and
no remake.
Great, it was great. After I watched that film, I had to put it in my top 10, 100. Yep. My top 100 films. So I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'm glad. I'm actually really happy because I was sweating.
After it came out on DVD and it became a cult following, the critics actually claimed this as one of the best movies of the 21st century. So I'm not going to say, I don't know if I could say it was one of the best, but would I watch again? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I would recommend it to anybody to watch this. I mean, not just for the simple fact that somebody could say, well, it's a chick flick, but it really necessarily isn't. It's if you like cinematography and you like again with the special effects the way they did it, and again I go back to the shadows and stuff disappearing, and he walk in a room, he's talking to the guy who runs the business. He's talking to him, says, hey, I'm in there too, in your mind too, what are you talking to me for? And next time he goes, hey, you got to stop, he has no face.
Yep.
And it just keeps changing as they're getting rid of more and more of these bits of memories, and it's just like, wow, that's really well done.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me
very interesting.
Some of that kind of actually reminds me, and I think the other part brought back to my childhood watching Outer Limits. When I was a kid, the things that kind of went on there and stuff. Yeah. I think it kind of brought some of that back to me because the shadows. It was always especially black and white. You always had the shadows behind stuff going on and things. But I believe it. It really sparked an interest in me. It was really cool. I'm glad you offered that one to me.
It's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so my movie was a Western, and he told me to watch Once Upon a Time.
Oh wow! I like the way you put that. He told me to watch it. Like he made me. Okay, I'll watch it.
Pretty famous film. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, and it was directed by Sergio I always forget his last name.
Leone?
Leone or whatever.
Sergio Leone.
He made movies
Mr. Spaghetti Western.
Yeah, he made the spaghetti westerns popular. Clint Eastwood's, Fistful of Dollars, Good, Bad, and the Ugly,
yes.
All those.
And speaking of that, Clint Eastwood turned this one down. That's why I went to Charles Bronson.
Oh,
they offered
that
him first.
Makes sense. Okay, so this movie's about the people that play in this film. Henry Fonda plays Frank. Henry Fonda did films like 12 Angry Men, On Golden Pond. Claudia Cardinale, she plays Jill McBain. Charles Bronson plays the harmonica guy because they just call him Harmonica in the cast. He played in movies like Death Wish, which is pretty funny. Well, I think it's funny, but
some of them were. Film. I mean, I think they started out okay. They kind of went a little too far.
Well, I'll never forget the scene with Death Wish 3 where he has a soccer ball that has a bomb in it and blows up some guard for no reason. He just one guard. It's like, wow, this guy's just watching this house. One guard. You gotta use that big explosion. So I'm gonna put a clip in there, like with the explosion.
There you go.
Now, this movie's about a stranger with harmonica, Charles Bronson, teams up with a notorious desperado, Henry Fonda. Sorry. And they're trying to protect Jill McBain, which is played by Claudia, from an assassin that's working for the railroad. And this movie is your standard spaghetti western, pretty much.
Well, and let me interrupt you there. It's kind of odd. Explain that again. You've got a harmonica guy, and you've got Henry Fonda in a role he doesn't normally do as a villain of some type.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what type of villain he was, but they're trying to protect some girl that somebody else is after.
Yeah, because
how is he a villain who's protecting the girl somebody else is after?
Well, not Henry Fonda. Sorry, I got that mixed up. What I meant was
Henry Fonda the assassin.
Henry Fonda is the assassin.
Okay.
So what the thing is pretty much it's a standard spaghetti western. There's some really quotable lines from this film. One of my favorite lines, actually, because I haven't watched it since I was a kid. I actually rewatched it. It's on Netflix, so if you want to check it out, it's on Netflix. The part where at the beginning is probably the best part of the film, in my opinion, because it's one of the most iconic film quotes ever. And it's these three strangers are just waiting for someone to get off the train. And all of them are all different, but you can kind of tell they're waiting for the same person. And then when the train leaves, there's Charles Bronson, and he's got the harmonica he's blowing it. And the three guys join up together, and they're like, look, we got full horses, and he's like, okay, whatever. And he's like, I see. And he goes, what do you mean? We didn't bring enough horses. He goes, nope, you brought too many. And that's when a gunfight happens. And Charles Bronson kills all of them. He gets wounded a little bit. But I love that line because you're like, wow, this guy's a hard ass. That's
Charles Bronson.
And the thing is but what makes the spaghetti western the way it is the soundtrack. The music is fantastic. The things that people have problems with spaghetti westerns, one, gunfights. Because some of the sound effects for the guns are very muffled and powerful.
Sometimes a little bit off, but also too, and it's not just the music that makes a spaghetti western. It's actually the cinematography, the way they do it in there as well. Too. Well, because it's like you cut to the person, then also you get a cut to the gun, and you get back to the other person.
Well, it draws that stress, like that attention to it, where it's just like, oh, what's good?
Because the music hits in those cuts.
Yeah, and that's what because if you ever watch Good, Bad, the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, the showdown at the end where that eye stare, and they're all just looking at their guns. I think what's really funny is when the internet looped that and just kept looping it, where it was like nothing ever happened. People are like, watching what's going on. What's going to happen? Because they've never watched it, and then they see it, and they're like, "Oh, this is terrible."
Nothing's happening.
Which a lot of and that's the thing. That's why that director did so well, is because he made that kind of tension that would happen between films. So the spaghetti western was more of a tension. If you've ever watched a John Wayne film, there's really not that much tension like that. It's more of just bang bang shoot 'em up story.
Yeah, it's more open. It's more
Yeah, it's not.
I can't think of really
it's
what to
not
call
like
it.
more character depth. It's more of like, hey, here's a character. We're not going to show how cool he is. He's just going to murder someone. Because when there's a showdown, it's just like,
True.
But
that's the thing with the show. But in those kind of movies, they develop the characters, their depth during the movie, but before the showdown. Then the showdown is just like the gunfight. It's everybody shooting.
But also, too, what's really cool about these movies is they have like 4 different characters that are main characters in this whole film. And then you have the villain.
Spaghetti Western.
Yeah, and the thing is it leads up to all those characters. It has a lot of character depth, but in like a John Wayne film, it was just John Wayne.
For the most part.
For the most part, and
unless
then
you
probably have
Martin or somebody.
or Ron Howard in the shoot is with him. That it was just like a supporting actor, but you had more characters with more detail. But overall, this movie, I really feel like, it was all right. I don't think it's like the greatest one out of all of them. I actually think The Good, Bad, and the Ugly and Fistful of Dollars is probably my favorite. But this one kind of felt like, it's all right. Like, it's all right as a Western. Like, I don't mind this film. I just... It's kind of that director thing where after you've seen it so many times, it kind of gets boring in a way. You're just like, okay, those are beautiful shots, but let's do something else. It reminds me of Zack Snyder when he does like films like Watchmen, Transformers, and all them. That he does a slow down thing, everything he does, or it's too dark. It's always dark and gritty. I kind of just feel like that director can't like appease himself to like do something better. Because like that's the problem that people don't have with Tarantino is because Tarantino has done 5 different genres of a film.
True.
They don't do the same genre. That's the thing. Like, Sergio did this. He did westerns most of the time. Most people know him for his westerns. Zack Snyder's mostly known for like action.
The thing of it is too about this is that Sierra Leone, after he did all the spaghetti westerns, was actually trying to retire, trying to get out of that and do some other things, and then because he was hey, I'm like you said, I'm done with those. I want to try something different. Well, he was doing something. I forget it was a series of something that was going to be called Once Upon a Time in America, but Paramount came to him and says, "Hey, we want you to do another western." And so they gave him access to Henry Fonda and that kind of stuff. So it kind of developed from there. But even though when they opened it, the European version, which was 2 hours and 46 minutes, over in Europe it was a success. Now, granted, I would guess that spaghetti westerns were probably a success over there too, more so than here.
Oh yeah.
So when they brought it here, they edited it down to like 2 hours and 25 minutes, and a lot of people was trying to say, well, you cut that down. And so that's why it flopped at the box office. I don't think necessarily that's why it flopped. I think it was more so that people, okay, we've seen the other spaghetti westerns. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably going to be the same stuff. And it probably, people at that point were like, okay, like you said, I've seen enough of these. Mm-hmm. And they didn't really want to go out and see another one. I think that was more of the reason, or more so than cutting out 20 minutes. Now, granted, I don't think they just stopped 20 minutes in. They probably edited different parts out. And maybe they could have edited a few choice sequences. I don't know. I've never seen the extended version, so I couldn't really say. But over time, and just do a couple quotes here. Okay, the film is generally acknowledged as a masterpiece and one of the greatest films ever. And the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress is quoted as saying that this film is culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
It is to an extent, but I really don't. To me, I thought it was
the Library of Congress, and he denies it. That's like saying George Washington didn't stand in his boat.
Well,
he didn't stand.
Let's take in consideration, because here's the thing: Citizen Kane is considered one of the most iconic movies of all time.
It's true,
but it is the most boringest movie you ever watched.
It's iconic, but it's not necessarily one you want to watch more than once or fall asleep or try.
And the thing is, but. The reason why that movie is because it's shot a certain way.
Correct.
And it has like very, very few flaws in that film. That and Orson Welles, that's considered like the best movie of all time on AFI's Top 100.
That's true. It is.
But the thing is when I first watched it, I was like, I don't see the whole,
what the draw is.
Oh, okay, I see why. But it's not nothing where I'm like, oh my gosh, let's watch it this week. It just doesn't keep repeating. Well, and that's how I felt with this movie. This movie just felt like, okay, I've seen these.
I think if you're older, not necessarily my age, but maybe older, that Citizen Kane actually is the top list because of when it was done, more so than today. Because I don't think if you bring somebody young into the movie theater and say, hey, we're going to watch Citizen Kane. What's that? It's a cool movie. Watch it. They'll probably kick you.
Well, it just depends. Even film critics and film, people that are going through film school, they usually show Citizen Kane because it's considered one of the best movies. But in my opinion, I've watched Citizen Kane, and I actually watched it before the movie that I recommend, top number 1, and that's Godfather Part 2. Mm. That's the thing. But I have to have a movie that intrigues me more. It's not the same old type storyline. And spaghetti westerns are kind of like that. And I think also I got ruined because my mom's a John Wayne fan. Oh, so,
So you have so much John Wayne in you, the other stuff's kind of like, yeah.
It's kind of like I have a bias.
No, it's okay. It's okay. My dad was a John Wayne fan too. And if the John Wayne was on, we watched John Wayne.
Yeah, most people are Clint Eastwood fans. And I just... Clint Eastwood's all right. I like actually Clint Eastwood films that aren't westerns. Actually.
Well, I was actually a western fan more so than John Wayne. I actually watched. Because your parents turn you on to westerns. It's like, hey, and then again too, for many years, westerns was the thing.
Oh yeah.
Whether it was an old western or it was a new western, it was anything. If it was a western on TV, usually, half the neighborhood stopped to watch the western. But so that's kind of how that was. But today it's superheroes.
But back to this movie though is. I'm going to rate it an 8.5.
Well, that's a good rating.
The reason why is because this genre is dying.
Westerns?
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. I watched a Western. It was good.
What you have to realize is it's not like it used to be.
No, they're made different. They are.
Which is very made different. And they're actually put in the action category most of the time.
True, and I think too, if you stuck, a John Wayne movie against, spaghetti Western. I guess, except for the hardcores, most people, the general audience, would probably pick the John Wayne movie over it. Mm-hmm. Basically because it's, I don't want to say more of a family movie, but it's more smoother, it's easier to watch, it makes more sense.
Yeah, it's not, and that's the thing.
Because a lot of spaghetti westerns were like, the guy.
But why am I giving it 8.5?
He's going to shoot somebody and.
But why I give it an 8.5 is one that, and also two is this is a very popular movie. This movie is very highly recommended. I was just ruined because I watched these before I watched this, so I'm not going to say that anyone out there isn't going to enjoy it. They might watch this and be like, "Oh, this is actually really good." True. But the thing was I think there's better westerns out there compared to that because that's my that's how I feel about it. But overall, plus, it's a good movie.
Yeah. And I'm glad you liked it because I haven't seen this in quite a while, but I know I've seen it a couple times growing up. Like I said, if there was a Western on TV, it was on our TV in our house. So, back then when we were kids, you had 3 channels. So it's like, click, 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 and that was it.
Yeah. Well, and also, too, is back then when these were being made, Westerns were, common. Everyone was making them. They were. But now it's very rare. Once in a blue moon they'll come out with a Western. That's why, I'm a huge Preacher fan because Preacher has Western feels to it, especially. Yeah. So that's what I like about that. I like the whole desert and I like the whole shooting and the gunfights are amazing and the soundtrack is great.
Yeah. So if you, excuse me, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. In true, you're talking about how the real Westerns kind of died out, aside from when you had me watch 310 to Yuma. That was a good Western, and it was actually as a Western. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will put in the genre some of these other films, for example, and I haven't seen this yet, but where you described No Country for Old Men, just because it's out in Texas or it's out somewhere, and you got a couple cowboys in it, you got a couple ranchers in it, they say, well, that's a Western. Not really in my book. It's not a Western.
Well, see, that's they put that in that category of Western. I really think it's a thriller, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was based on what I've read so far about it. Yeah,
but yeah. Did you like any of these movies? Have you watched Once Upon a Time in the Nest? Or have you ever watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Nine?
See? You got part of your mind with your
I know.
It's Spotless.
Yeah, Spotless.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Sir Burkolater here. Just giving you a heads up. We didn't tell you what videos that we were going to do next week. Next week we're going to be doing... I'm going to be watching Bonnie and Clyde, the original. That's 1950s, 60s, I'm pretty sure, 70. And Titan is going to watch Fury, starring Brad Pitt, in 2014. But have you watched any of this? Like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching. And just remember, if you're not nerdy enough, you're not classy enough for this channel. Have a good day.